Welcome back to the Neutral Zone. Today we're going to be talking about the Utah Utes as we continue along with our recap series. As always, if you're new to the channel, please like, comment, subscribe, hit that notification bell so you don't miss a single upload. We also go live every Sunday, 9 p.m. Eastern to talk football. We just did a massive giveaway for a signed Tim Tebow jersey. We're going to continue doing giveaways every 1,000 subscriber mark, so please join our community and talk college football with us on a daily basis. But Dad, how do you feel about Utah? Cam Rising is coming back, so how do you feel about Utah this year as well as your future?
Yeah, I think we talked about it and hinted to it a number of times during the season. Utah had won a number of Pac-12 championships in a row, so I'm sure 8-5, finishing fourth in the Pac-12 is a little bit disappointing for them. But this was a team that literally was facing adversity all year. Between the injuries you just mentioned Cam Rising coming back. Their starting quarterback probably would have been, and I'm not going to say a Heisman contender, but probably would have been in that conversation if he had played the full season. Was one of the more prolific quarterbacks coming back last season. So the fact that he's coming back next season probably bodes well for them. But when you're missing that key of a piece to your team, along with a number of other injuries throughout the year, they really couldn't settle in that quarterback position. They kept flip-flopping back and forth, so they could never really get settled on who the starting quarterback was going to be. To finish 8-5 is not bad. I'm not going to say it's great, but it's not a bad season. It's nothing that they need to hold their head down about. Again, coming off a number of Pac-12 championships. How many Pac-12 championships in a row? Two Pac-12 championships in a row seasons before. So you're okay having a down season. This was a really good season for the Pac-12. Probably not the season you want to be missing your starting quarterback. And those are the type of things that happen from time to time. It is what it is. They looked good very early, lost some very close games. That defense played lights out. So if they can get that same type of production from their defense all season, really kind of look good in every game except for that Arizona game and the Oregon game. If they can get that same production from the defense, and Cam Rising has overcome his injuries and really can get back to what he was seasons before, I think they can be back to a conference champion. They're moving to the Big 12. So the level of competition is going to go down a little bit, not drastically. Some good teams in the Big 12. But with Cam Rising back, if that defense comes back partially and they have a good receiver room, they might be a really good team next year. And I suspect early that they're going to be in the conference championship picture. Cam Rising is that big of a deal. He's that big of a leader. He's that big of a passing quarterback. He's a difference maker for a program. So having him back, the weird part about this season was we went through the first part of this season not knowing, is Cam Rising going to play? It was like every week it was, is he going to come back this week? Is he going to come back this week? I don't remember what week it happened, but finally they said, oh, he's going to be out for the entire season. But literally it was every week we were thinking like, oh, maybe this is the week Cam Rising comes back. So that was kind of weird on their part. They probably knew early in the season that it was going to be a full season outage, but they kept kind of playing that game week in and week out. But like I said, 8-5 is nothing to sneeze at, nothing to hold your head down for. And I think they're going to be back in a major way next season. What's your thoughts?
So I agree with you. Before I recap their 2023 season, they are my landslide favorites in the Big 12 next year.
Okay.
I think if the betting, I'm not sure if the betting odds are out, but if they are out, they got to be heavy favorites for the Big 12 with Texas and Oklahoma leaving. I don't see another team that can compete with this kind of team, especially when you bring back the veteran leadership in Cam Rising. Like you said, they had playoff aspirations early in the year, started off 4-0, obviously won the game against Florida at home after the home and home series with them. Snuck out a game at Baylor, if you remember that game. Very close game at the end. Snuck that game out. And then kind of spiraled out of control towards the back end of the schedule. Obviously, you played really good teams. Oregon finished in the top 10. Washington finished in the top 10, runner-up in the national championship game. Arizona finished in the top 15, I believe. And then obviously you lose to Northwestern, but a lot of those players didn't even play in that game. It's an irrelevant bowl game, so a lot of players didn't play. But I will say, in my opinion, this was a disappointing season for Utah. I think coming off the back-to-back Pac-12 championships, you kind of set a standard for yourself. And I think with or without Cam Rising, this was still a great team. This was still a top 15 team with or without them, with or without him, excuse me. So I don't think you should have lost to an Oregon State. I don't think you should have lost to a team like Arizona. And I think obviously you lose by 7 to Washington, you lose by 30 to Oregon. I just don't think that's acceptable when you're talking about a team who started in the top 10, coming off of back-to-back Pac-12 titles. Now, I will also say heading into next year, it's concerning that Nate Johnson and Bryson Barnes both left, or Bryson Burns, if that's his name.
The two backup quarterbacks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they both enter the portal. So now they've really got to be, you know, relying heavy on Cam Rising. Can he make a
Yeah.
healthy recovery? I know
Yeah.
they said that it was like his ACL, MCL, all types of CLs that he tore.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of concerned as if he can't go, you lost your number 2 and number 3 guy, who both of them split time this year, and both of them are starting caliber quarterbacks at the college football level. We don't know what Luke Batari can do, or whoever else they have coming up from the recruiting, or if the transfer portal. I don't think Utah is one of those teams that really dives deep into the transfer portal, if I'm not
Well, they
mistaken.
picked up. I mean, they picked up Dorian Singer. They
Okay,
picked
they
up
did
the
grab
wide
him.
receiver from Washington. He was a kind of a bench guy. I can't think of his name off the top of my head. Like Tayshawn something, Tayshawn Lyons. They picked up Tayshawn Lyons. I didn't play much at Washington, but was like a 4 or 5 star recruit coming in. So those two, and you mix that with Money Parks coming back, like. Yeah, so they picked up a couple players out of the portal this year.
Yeah, I'm not sure if Jaquindon Jackson is coming back. I would assume he is. He was one of the bell cows for them last year, along with Jalen Glover. So I think based off of what they're bringing back now, again, they're my early Big 12 favorite, but that doesn't, mean that this season wasn't disappointing, because I truly felt
I
like
agree.
Utah had the chance to repeat, or to go back to back, really three-peat. Obviously, the Pac-12 was absolutely loaded this year, but Utah was right in the thick of things, in the preseason polls. So to fall and get 5 losses, to lose to a Northwestern team with or without a bunch of starters, still kind of says and speaks volume of the way this season kind of unfolded for Utah. But I still think, like I said, this is going to be one of the more powerhouse teams in the not the Pac-12, in the Big 12. With kind of the Pac-12 dissolving, and you have like the Big 4, if you want to say. I think Utah is almost a shoo-in for the playoffs on a year in, year out basis, if they can continue to recruit, because there's not many teams in the Big 12 that if I'm Utah, I'm afraid of. Obviously Colorado's up and coming. You have a team like TCU, who kind of fell off a little bit. You have a team like Oklahoma State. Kansas should still be in the mix there. Kansas State, Oklahoma State. But I still feel comfortable with Utah. Of all those games, I feel very confident in Utah, just because the style of play they have. Obviously, they play really good defense, really big offensive line. They remind me a bit of an SEC type team, just based off of their play style. And I think that's going to do them really well in the Big 12. But again, I think it all comes down to, and it all boils down to, can Cam Rising get healthy, stay healthy, and lead this team to where they want to be, and that's the playoffs.
Yeah, I think Cam Rising probably comes back as one of the most or the more decorated quarterbacks returning. Maybe you put Dylan Gabriel kind of in that same conversation. But in terms of doing it multiple seasons, he has to be one of the biggest names coming back. Again, we could talk Jalen Milroe, but Jalen Milroe kind of had an up and down season. Cam Rising has led, as we just talked about, Utah to Pac-12 championships twice. So him coming back, like I said, I think is a very big deal. The surprising thing for me is that you don't really hear about the Utah coach in some of these big name jobs. He has done a heck of a job. I don't know why his name isn't thrown around. Why he wasn't
Whittingham, right? Kyle Whittingham.
Yeah, Kyle Whittingham. Why he wasn't a name talked about for Alabama, why he wasn't a name talked about for Washington. What I don't. That's kind of, and maybe he's a guy that just loves Utah, and he's kind of said, "I'm not leaving." But this guy's an amazing coach. He has done a heck of a job at Utah, and it's one of those things you mentioned as we kind of went through the season, that Utah won back-to-back Pac-12 championships. That's not something that's really at the front of people's mind, that you don't really think of Utah as a 2-time Pac-12 championship team. just like I guess most people probably, unless you're a big Utah fan, probably aren't looking at this season and saying this is good, bad, indifferent, or whatever the case may be. I don't think they're really in that national conscience like that. But Kyle Whittingham just continues to have them in conversations that they don't start out in. This guy's a heck of a coach, and like I said, I'm just surprised his name hasn't been thrown around for some bigger jobs.
Yeah, and so Utah fans, before you get mad, when I say this is a disappointing season, in my opinion, it's disappointing because my standard of Utah is to be, 10, 11 win, getting to that Pac-12 title game. And I feel like they fell severely short, or you guys fell severely short of that this season. So again, I think this is a great program. I would anticipate Utah being in the top 15 or so to start the year next year. I haven't looked at their schedule. Let me pull it up really quick for next year. So you play Baylor, Utah State, Colorado. Yeah, this team may go undefeated. Now that I'm
Are there
looking at
any
the
games
schedule.
that you're concerned about?
There's no games on the schedule that I'm concerned about. The only game that I would say could they lose is the Arizona game, and Arizona just lost everything. And then maybe Oklahoma State. But there's nobody else on this list that finished in the top 25 outside of Oklahoma State and Arizona. Obviously, you have the Colorado at Colorado. We don't know what they're going to be. There's a lot of kind of shakiness there, but they're going to be a talented team. But I would still favor Utah. But I think they're probably going to be favorites in every single one of their games next year. So I think we're looking at a playoff team next year. That's why I'm saying this year was a bit of a disappointment because of the 8-5 finish. But I think it's kind of a good thing. It could be a blessing in disguise when you look at an 8-5 team and they turn around and go 10-2, 11-1, and make it to the second or even the semifinal in the playoffs next year. So very excited to see how this kind of program continues to elevate with Kyle Whittingham kind of at the forefront.
I think they're back at a place where they can, and again, I don't want to say sneak up on teams, but they're back at a place where they're probably going to be a little bit underestimated. And they can come out and play their style of football and give some people problems.
Definitely. As always, if you guys are new to the channel, please do us a favor, like, comment, subscribe, hit that notification bell so you don't miss an upload. Pull up at our live 9 p.m. Eastern every single Sunday. We talk football. We've been doing a fun little series there, so come check us out for that. We do giveaways as well every 1,000 subscribers. We look forward to seeing you guys at tomorrow's recap. Peace out.